Allô, ici Caprice Doll. Savez-vous où est-ce que je suis ici aujourd'hui? Au Horreur Expo 3e édition. Il va y avoir des exposants, il va y avoir des kiosques avec plein d'horreur, du sang, du gore. Fait que manquez pas ça, hein?
Hello, c'est le temps?
On dirait que toi, c'est ta première édition ici,
Oui,
qu'on m'a dit.
absolument.
C'est
Première
quoi
fois.
ton nom?
Samuel Aymon Gaudreau.
Ah, parfait. Moi, c'est Caprice Doll.
Enchanté.
C'est quoi t'as à nous présenter aujourd'hui?
Ben en fait, quelques-unes de mes créations, si on veut. Moi, je me spécialise dans la création de pièces à thématique de films d'horreur. J'ai un petit créneau, je peux pas vous le cacher, pour vendredi 13 et Halloween. Fait que dans le fond, moi, ce que je fais, c'est que j'achète des moules comme ça, qui sont faites avec une précision très précise pour ce qui est des films. Je les drille, je les repeinture, je les vieillis pour que ça a l'air de comme dans le film, tout simplement.
Oh! C'est vraiment bien fait, le côté vieilli.
Oui, merci. C'est une spécialité, si on veut. C'est de quoi que j'aime vraiment faire, vieillir. Je suis pas capable de garder quelque chose de clean. Il faut que ça soit vieilli.
Oui, ça donne du détail.
Oui, ça donne une histoire aussi.
Exactement. Bien dit, ça.
Oui.
Ben, je te souhaite un bon Horreur Expo.
Merci beaucoup. Au revoir.
Hello!
Allô?
Pour commencer, c'est quoi vos noms à vous?
Moi, c'est Bibiane.
Moi, c'est Patrick.
Mais salut! Hey, ça a l'air qu'ils ont une maison hantée, eux autres.
Oh yes, on a 53 pieds à l'intérieur. C'est une maison hantée. On se promène un peu partout au Québec. Les gens viennent là-dedans. L'année passée, on a fait la Canadienne de Montréal. On était là avec toute notre équipe pour faire la maison.
Déjà?
Amusement RG, que ça s'appelle.
Attends, j'ai mal entendu.
Amusement RG!
Oh, allez voir ça, la gang, vous allez avoir du fun d'amusement RG.
On a un centre de jeux d'évasion aussi.
Oui,
À
ok.
thématique horreur, 4 salles à thématique horreur. C'est vraiment...
Eh, c'est complet, ça, comme fin de semaine, on s'entend?
Ouais, puis c'est à
Hein?
Joliette.
En
qu'ils ont-
plus.
Joliette.
À Joliette.
À Joliette.
C'est
Joliette.
proche.
Proche de dans Joliette. Allez voir ça, amusement RG, il y a d'évasion, il y a de maisons hantées. Puis d'autres affaires le fun.
Ben,
je
ça,
pense.
je pense que c'est leurs clients qui écoutent pas.
Ça semblait ça. Ceux qui n'ont pas réussi. Ceux qui n'ont pas réussi l'évasion,
Ah, dommage.
ils servent
Les
dans
gens,
la
faut
salle.
qu'ils se forcent là,
En
s'ils
plein
veulent
ça.
sortir de là.
C'est ça.
OK, sinon
Non,
vous allez
il-
vous retrouver sur la table du kiosque.
Ils peuvent faire des morceaux.
Oui, c'est ça.
Fait qu'Amusement RG, allez voir ça, leur site.com, je suppose.
Yeah.
Hein, on va le montrer.
AmusementRG.com.
Ben, l'adresse est là, c'est sur Champlain. Rue Champlain, pas le lac. Ah oui.
Pas le pont non plus.
Non, tout le temps en train de faire réparer cette affaire-là. Fait qu'allez voir ça, Amusement RG, ça a l'air pas mal de fun.
Bonjour. Bonjour.
C'est quoi t'as à nous montrer aujourd'hui? C'est
Moi,
comment?
j'ai une boutique à Marché Opus Saint-Michel,
Oui, on connaît ça.
Serrano de Saint-Michel.
Oh, oui,
Puis
oui.
je vends tous des jouets à partir des années 50 à 2025. Puis je vends un peu de tout. Fait que ça, c'est une partie de mes affaires à vendre. Juste de l'horreur. Sinon, j'ai du manga, j'ai du toutes sortes de choses.
Donc là, t'as emmené ceux qui font le plus peur
Ah
aujourd'hui.
ouais, c'est ça.
T'as bien fait.
Merci, merci. Merci beaucoup.
Allô? On a ici des petites créatures avec leurs petits doigts, ils tricotent des affaires. C'est qui les a fait?
C'est tout moi, les avait.
Wow, des bottes!
Si.
T'es capable de faire n'importe quoi avec ça, il faut que tu connais tes points.
Oui.
Ah,
Écoute,
wow.
tu sais comment faire les formes.
Tu peux imaginer ce que tu veux.
Que je veux.
Oh, t'as pas besoin de
C'est long à faire, mais
Ça vaut
ça
la
se fait.
peine.
Ça se fait.
On fait des petits amis à la maison.
Ouais.
Mais vous en, là, venez chercher des petits amis à la maison, sur le sofa, dans ton lit, n'importe où, sur le frigidaire. C'est elle qui fait ça. Des petits sacs en cercueil en plus. Viens voir, moi je la connais, elle. Allô, Miss! Arrêtez ça, là! Hey, wow, on fait ça dans la chambre, là. C'est pas poli. C'est quoi tu as à nous présenter aujourd'hui?
Ben, toutes sortes d'affaires, des restants d'expo aussi. là. Fait que, dans le fond, j'ai mon Freakonomicon encore. Puis là, cette année, ben, j'ai fait des petits covers, là, des petites toiles pas chères, là, le fun. Puis, ben, j'ai fait ma marionnette aussi.
Oui, elle est nouvelle. Comment elle s'appelle?
Elle s'appelle Sophie.
Allô, Sophie?
Sophie Zombie!
Oh!
Regarde!
Ah, c'est important. Ah! Elle a mal, là, elle shake un petit peu.
Ben non!
Non, ça va bien.
Ça va bien, ça va bien.
C'est sa nouvelle mode.
C'est ça. On tripe avec des tripes.
On tripe, oui, c'est vrai. C'est le cas de le dire.
Monsieur Roger Spottiswoode. The first thing I have in mind right now, on the beginning of your career, you work with Sam Peckinpah as an editor on a little film called Straw Dog. And I was wondering, it's a film where the horror is shot in a tight place. Do you find help there to shot Terror Train in the way you edit Straw Dog?
Somehow I learned a lot from Sam. I'd actually started with Carol Rice. Or no, Carol Rice came later, but the two of them were completely different. Sam very violent, Carol very peaceful, and they shot in different ways. And I learned both. I stole from both of them. I borrowed from both of them. I paid homage, whatever it is, but they were big influences. And the rest of my life was spent making films that were not about horror, and except Shake Hands, real horror.
Yeah.
And Hiroshima horror.
Yes.
Yeah. And a film about forgiveness, which isn't there, but which I became obsessed with from Rwanda. How do people forgive atrocities? And a film about AIDS. So they launched me into a world that I'd left behind because my father made documentaries on those subjects, on subjects like that. And I wanted to be different from him, and then I found myself making feature films about the same subjects or the same ideas. But it was a strange journey.
Because the suspense in both films came in part because when we are in tight place, Terror Train and Straw Dog, and I can't help myself but talk about Straw Dog because it's so fantastic film. Terror Train is your first movie as the director.
Yeah.
The executive producer of the film told that his first idea was to make Halloween on a train.
Halloween on the train.
Yeah, remake in a way Halloween on a train.
Well, Jamie was this, I guess so. That may have been true. I didn't see Halloween. I didn't want it to affect me, so I didn't actually know how to make a horror film. But it was the first film I was offered, so I took it quickly, and I thought I was the wrong person to do it. But I tried to learn from Jamie and others, and I had a wonderful cameraman and great editors who saved me a lot. And anyway, I got through it and I enjoyed it in the end, but I didn't know how to do it, really.
Was it hard to have Jamie Lee Curtis on board?
No, she saved my life, She knew how to make
Mine
films.
too.
She knew how to do the film. She was terrific. She taught me, she taught the other actors. Her presence sort of informed us all. We sort of made our way, and I had a wonderful cameraman, too. And an impossible schedule, which ended the day before Christmas Eve. So there was no way of going even an hour over schedule. The entire crew was going to go off and put up their Christmas trees and everything else. So we had to finish in whatever it was, 19 days or 20 days. And we were on a train where you could not drill a hole to put a light in place. You couldn't touch the train. The train had to be absolutely returned the way it was. And yet we had all of these scenes in it that were hard to shoot without moving lights, taking out windows and doing all of those things. So we were in a strange trap. But I was in this trap with an extraordinary man, which was the cameraman, John Olcott, who'd just done an extraordinary film, several in fact. and he worked with Kubrick, who would would insist he took a day on one shot. And in fact, I asked John, why in the world are you doing this film? We have to shoot whatever it is, 30 setups every day. He said, that's the reason I'm here. When you're with Kubrick, you're lucky if you shoot one a day. Sometimes it's 2 days on one shot, sometimes it's 2 shots in a day, but mainly I read the newspaper. Because I sort of light the candles, I work from candles. At that time, he preferred to have candles. Barry Lyndon, he'd learned about putting 2 wicks into a candle or 3 wicks, so very, very bright. You still couldn't see anything, but the camera could. Anyway, so I was very fortunate to have a grandmaster who wanted to remind himself that he could do impossible schedules. And so we would work out, I'd have to tell him how many setups we had that day in 12 hours. And I'd say, well, I think it's 40. And he said, okay, 40. So 40 divided into 10 hours, so that's 600, whatever it is, 600 minutes. So that's like 8 minutes a shot or whatever it is. You get 4 minutes of shooting, I get 4 minutes of lighting, okay? So the shot's gonna be a minute long, you get 4 takes. Don't think of taking a 5th take. I'm sure they know their lines, but that's what we're gonna do, and the shot better work, because that's all you're gonna do.
I like the fact that in the film, and it's probably John Halcott to decide that, but in the train, there's always some kind of, I don't know if it's the good word, but it's some kind of blur or dust.
At that time, he did put in smoke sometimes, but very, very fine smoke, so it doesn't look like smoke. He would diffuse. He used some diffusion. He also had gone to a place called Liberty's in London. It's a famous store that just off Oxford Street, and they sell beautiful things in silk from all over the world. Scarves, women's scarves. And he bought, 50 women's scarves, quite expensive, but he bought these things. And he would put them over the lamps. So we had all the lamps in the train that are there, and he'd put these scarves over, multicolored scarves, and then you could move it around and get slightly lighter and slightly more colored and slightly diffused light. So he played with he and his gaffer, Lou Bogue, with whom he argued intensely all the time. And Luke was sort of just as tough on John as vice versa. They did a sort of performance fight every day on the set about the exposure, John would say, put the camera at 3:2 on this one. And Lou would say to the assistant, John's lost his fucking mind. It's a 2:8. Put 2:8. Don't listen to him. And they'd have this fight, public fight, knowing that they were entertaining the crew, but being tough. Anyway, the lighting and the look of the film came out of this interesting way that they worked together. They both had East End accents. They were both working class, but intensely well educated in what they were doing, and they'd come off Barry Lyndon, and they could argue with Kubrick, and they did this with Kubrick too. They were equal opportunity arguers. And, the light, the candles were a big thing. Was the candles working? How many wicks were in the candle? They didn't use light meters, so was the back of their hand, have you been in the sun, you got tan there?
Oh my God.
They would argue about everything. And out of that argument, I got a terror train, and I got other things. Anyway, Under Fire.
Can you talk about David Copperfield a bit? You laugh. I'm not sure it's good or not.
It's complicated.
Oh.
I don't. He's a magician, right? As it happens, one of the writers on this film, who couldn't be given a credit because she was American, she was a friend of mine, but at the beginning of the thing, you see a train go by in the title sequence, and it's got on the side of the carriage, Rasco's Carriage or something.
Okay.
Her name is Judy Rasco. She's a wonderful writer. She happens to be friends with the great magician in America, who's not David Copperfield. There is somebody who David Copperfield is very jealous about. And he knew when he read the script, that Judy Rasco was a friend of this other great magician who was much better off. So there was always a problem. He said, you have to tell me, I'm not going to have Judy telling me what I'm going to do and how you're going to shoot it, because it's really difficult. And in fact, you know, he is a magician who depends entirely on his assistant, who was also called David, who was a genius, who had much finer wires than anything the prop department has ever seen. You could walk into them and you couldn't see them up there. I mean, he was brilliant at setting up those. All of this stuff is done, of course, with wires and things. And he's much better than any. I mean, prop men on films and special effects men are very good people. This is a different level because they're doing it in front of an audience. I mean, they do put that sparkly backing behind him, which hides a multitude of things going on that you can't, particularly on film. He was constantly checking, David was constantly checking the lighting, our lighting and what the resolution that we were seeing and things, because it is all done in a way that it's all mechanical, of course.
Just after Terror Train, you made probably one of your best films called Under Fire. I know it's not a horror film, but I really have to talk about that film because I think it's fantastic. With Gene Hackman and Nick Nolte. And talk to us about that film, please. It's too good.
It was an extraordinary piece of luck for me, and circumstances and so forth. I had tried before I made Terror Train. I was trying to become a director, and I got my agent to get rejected scripts from good writers, and I read hundreds of scripts, and I came across a writer called Ron Shelton, who'd written something that didn't get made, but I thought it was beautiful. And so when I was sent a script called Under Fire, which had one incident in it, the death of the journalist, and the rest of it was just a mess. And I had read a book about a war photographer that I thought was fascinating, because it was really about the difficulty of reporting on wars and not participating in wars. I mean, whether you're taking sides or whether you're helping one side or the other. So I was very interested in the subject, and I came across this, and I met this writer who'd written a script about something entirely different, but beautifully written, and I started talking to Ron, and we spent 3 or 4 months talking about a script. He sat down and wrote it. I had, a year earlier with Carol Rice, when I was an editor, a studio had said to me, if you ever become a director, come to us first. And I had the most remarkable event with them. It never happened to me again. I knew it never could. I sent them the script on Wednesday. On Saturday morning, the head of the studio in New York called me and said, I'm halfway through the script. I'm going to make the film. Talk to me on Monday, and I'm going to ask you to give me your word that if you sent this in saying you can make it for $8.5 million, on Monday, if you want to make the film, and we still want to make the film, you'll have to give me your word. Forget the contracts. We don't work with contracts. You'll get a contract after we finish shooting. But you do have to give me your word, and you won't break your word. I'm told you won't, and I'm telling you you won't. And that was the arrangement. On Monday, they gave me their word, and they said there's $8.5 million going to be in a bank in Los Angeles, and your line producer can access it tomorrow and start hiring people.
And I think Gene Hackman received a Golden Globe nomination.
I think so, yeah.
For that film, Best Supporting Actor.
Yeah. I mean, he and Nick were the same, really, but he may have got that award. I forget what award he won, but they were both great.
To work with, because I heard that Nick is a bit...
Nick has issues, but...
Okay.
But Nick's, I mean, the good part about Nick is that he has a heart of gold, but he also has shadows and demons and all of those things. The first half of the film was with Hackman, and he found that terrifying. I knew it, but we didn't talk a lot about it, but I could see it in his eyes the whole time. He was terrified of Hackman. Not that Hackman was difficult or anything, but he was very good. And sort of tough on himself. There's a scene in the film where he's in a bar playing badly at a bar, playing a piano badly. He hired, on his own money, a music teacher to teach him how to play and how to play badly. And he spent 16 weeks doing it. Yeah. The entire pre-production was about that scene, that he would play the piano badly and say the lines. And he became that character. It was extraordinary. Yeah. And Nick sort of knew, who doesn't get prepared much, except he does switch off the telly in the motorhome and check the script before he comes on the set. But he's also quite good spontaneously. But I remember, the two were great against each other, with each other. And then there was one day when Gene finished, there was a scene where Gene and the Frenchman are both there, Trintignant. And Nick came off the set after the first take, and he said, "Who the fuck is the frog?" I said, Nick, please. He said, no, I've just survived Hackman, and I thought I could have a holiday. And now this fucking guy, he's an actor. I said, Nick, he's the biggest star in Europe, and he's pleased to be working with you because you're a wonderful actor. It's okay. He said, it's not fucking okay. He was very funny. But he was, I was very fortunate with a great cast.
You work on a film, Shoot to Kill, and I think it's a comeback for Sidney Poitier, because he didn't make film for maybe 10 or 11 years.
What happened was he made all the early films.
Okay.
And he takes his work very seriously, but he also didn't feel he had to be a star forever. Mm-hmm. And he made quite a bit of money. And not that he lived lavishly or anything, he lived quite moderately. I didn't know him back then, but anyway. And he had a business manager, and famously, because it got into all the trades and the newspapers, the business manager walked off with his entire life savings, with Sidney's money. So he found himself at that age, before I arrived, broke. And he went to Katzenberg at Disney, who's a friend of his, and said, "Can you give me 3 films?" Or maybe Katzenberg offered to give him 3 films to put him back, to make up, just to keep him going. And so this was one of those films. And it didn't mean he didn't take it seriously, but he did think, as I discovered halfway through the shoot, when he'd had to climb a vertical rock face, which was done very safely, but it was a big rock face. It was 200 feet above a glacier. And he didn't want to do take 2. And when I was on the rock face trying to get the second take, and the AD I'd say, "Well, won't Sidney come down again?" Because I'm halfway down it. And I waited, and he didn't. And the AD said, "I think you have to come up." So I go up, and I see Sidney sitting on a rock, and I go sit beside him, and I don't say anything for a while. And eventually he says, "Roger, when I said yes to this film, I knew it was a studio picture, because nobody in their right minds would go into the Rockies and do this above a glacier. That's what studios are for. And you have a rear projection, and and we go home at the evening or afternoon for tea and things. And it's the idea of coming into the rock is insane. And here I am. I can't possibly go down again. And by the way, that helicopter that brought me in and is going to take me down, I will never go in one of those planes again. Ever. No, don't even think about it. Tomorrow or anything like that." And I said, "Okay, but I will have to tell Jeffrey that we're not doing tomorrow's work, because it's $200,000 a day, and it's, I think it's polite to tell Jeffrey that he's spending $200,000 tomorrow and we're not going to shoot." And he said, "Okay, call Jeffrey." So we're sitting on the rock, and we call Katzenberg. And I explained the situation, and I say, and we can't shoot tomorrow because Sidney doesn't feel he's. And would you like to speak to Sidney? He's right with me. And Jeff said, no, it's okay. 200, don't worry about it. Don't even think about it. He'd argued about $1,000 for a suit for days. He was very cheap. I mean, he was very careful with the money they spent. But anyway, so Sidney was a great joy to be with.
I had the feeling that in that film, any actor you choose is there to be a suspect.
Yeah.
It's a game,
Yeah.
it's
That
a
was it,
thriller,
of course,
but
yeah.
they are play villain in other film or
Yeah.
and
And we had one particular villain, didn't we?
Yeah.
We had one person who was not the villain, but was put there.
No.
To be. Yeah.
and I like the beginning with the blanket when the killer is under a blanket in the beginning when the beginning. I think
I haven't seen it in 40 years.
okay. I know it by heart.
I just watched with Michelle a bit of Terror Train. I hadn't seen that since we finished the answer print. I don't think I've seen it in...
Really?
No.
Honestly, that
By
film
the time you
changed my
finish
life.
but somehow you have this relationship with a movie when you're making it, and by the time you finished it and checked the print 20 times and checked the sound endless times and revoiced some of the actors and all of that, you never, you don't see them again. I was asked in Bologna last year to go and see a film, a Peckinpah film I edited with Bob Dylan, and it was astonishing. I'd never seen it since then, and it was surprising.
Do you think? I know I already talk about Terror Train, but you said you don't really are an horror fan. Do you think it's the reason why the movie's so good? Honestly,
I think you're too generous.
Because I think sometimes our movie fan who made film try to please everyone, and maybe they probably please not so many real fans.
Well, I felt all the way through. The two films I made that I really felt I was the wrong director. This one, because I didn't have any training. I didn't know them. I didn't know the genre. And everyone who's going to see it did know the genre, so I was the wrong person. And I made a film with Robin Williams. And I thought I was the wrong person to do that because I was making a piece of Americana, and I wasn't American. And very few people get away with it. If you're not American, you should not make an Americana film, a film about the essence of America, particularly that part of, that sort of working class part of.
I'm not sure our fan will think to the Groucho Marx mask. I don't know if it's your idea or not, but it's scary as hell.
I don't know.
Okay, I know that we talked a bit before, just after you made Stop or My Mom Will Shoot. Okay, and I adore that film. Okay, I adore Estelle Getty. And there's so many rumors about that film. There's so many stories. I can't help myself but asking you to talk about that. You talked to me before about Sylvester Stallone, but Estelle is good in the film. She's so funny.
She is funny, yeah. And Sly was going to try and be like her, but I did it sort of reluctantly, but I probably shouldn't have done it because I think anyone else would have done it better. But Sly didn't want to be that character. He didn't want to be related, so he wanted to be his macho self, and it didn't really have chemistry in the film. And it was, from day one, it was not a good idea. And Sly was able to distract himself to get through the shoot, which he did with great skill. And he has a following of people who come on the set with him or come onto his motorhome. And anyway, it was a mistake. and other people.
I don't think so. Honestly. Okay.
I'm happy that you liked it.
Listen, okay? The mom washed the gun. Okay. It's impossible to not laugh about that.
Okay.
She's so funny, and she's a golden girl. So
Yeah. Okay.
I think I don't.
You got me cornered. Okay.
Okay.
So
You work with Schwarzenegger too after?
yes, that was he's great. I like him a lot.
Okay, better than Stallone? Sorry to ask you that. But I think anyone here want to know that. So
Well,
it's not just my question. It's the question of.
they're very different people.
Yeah.
Arnold actually, who has a very good sense of humor and is actually rather self-deprecating at times, and it's I rather like. I don't like many Republicans, but actually I thought he was a good governor, and he tried very hard, and he was an honorable person. He is an honorable person, and he doesn't show up on time, and God knows he knows the script, and he knows his lines, and he's thought about it, and he has an acting coach, and he has this accent, and he knows he does, and he works on it. He's a really serious person. He's not busy getting laid off the set and doing a lot of nonsense and things. No, I mean he loves women, but yeah, but anyway, I like him a lot.
You compare him to Stallone when you say it? Or
What? No. No. Arnold really is very serious about making films and makes good films, I think.
I skip Hiroshima because I want to talk about Hiroshima and Shake It with the Devil a bit in the same time. Okay, you made a film with Roy Dupuis. Mm-hmm. For us, he's a star here.
Yeah, for me it was too. I had met Dallaire, and then I met Roy, and I thought he was a perfect person to do it. He's wonderful to work with. He's completely serious about what he does. He's sort of in the character all the way through. I mean, it's a bit awesome sometimes off the set, but he's still Dallaire. But Dallaire's a rather decent man, and Roy was a terrific actor. And